Let's get into a bit of the types of touch that you may experiment with, and what does the sequence look like
Right.
when it comes to touch?
Yeah. So we do a lot of touch-based exercises in surrogate partner therapy. In the very beginning, I'm not even really, the client and I are not interacting. What their job is to do in the very beginning is to establish a somatic foundation. And they do that through a process called sensate focus. It was actually developed by Masters and Johnson, who created surrogate partner therapy. And what they said is the way that we interact with our body in the world gives us a certain sensual foundation that can lead to sexual health. And the way to get back to sexual health, if we are not in a place of sexual health, is to recontextualize those sensations. So for the very beginning, sensate focus, what I might tell a client to do is sit down and do what I call a sensate body scan. So just become aware of all the different sensations that are flowing through the body just passively as you walk through the world. You know, how does your hair touch your ear? What does the weight of it feel like against your shoulder? How does the collar of your shirt feel against your neck? You know, going down, the weight of your earrings on your ears, all the little things that you really don't think about because we kind of see that as noise in our day-to-day life. And becoming very aware of that and integrating that into the information that we're consciously taking in. So there's that level of sensate focus. The next level would be an object sensate focus, where they're given an object. You know, I just randomly have a calculator here. And they're asked to close their eyes and explore the object sensually without identifying the object. And this gets back to Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent. You're exploring this object essentially for your own pleasure. So you don't really care what the object is, but what you are saying is, oh, the corner, I like the way the corner feels against the palm of my hand. Oh, I'm feeling the difference in the texture between the rubber buttons and the plastic. And it really doesn't matter what the object is, so much as you begin to understand that you can interact with something in a way that brings you pleasure, and you're in control of that. Moving from there, we start to exchange, you know, inanimate objects for each other's bodies. And we do this in a very slow progression. So we start off with nurturing touch, and it might just be doing the same kind of touch with each other's hands. And this is not meant to arouse or turn you on or anything, but just to sensually explore each other's hands and feel a nice, safe human interaction.
Yeah.
And we are touching each other for our own pleasure.
Okay. And sorry to interrupt, and to take in that information as information and not as it's right or wrong.
Yes.
Or am I doing a good job or not?
Right. Absolutely. And sometimes we revisit that throughout the course of the process, because in the first couple of sessions, you're not able to get away from the, am I doing this right or wrong? Or you may not be able to get away from, I'm doing this in order to turn you on, which is not necessarily the point. The flip side of that is, as someone who is receiving it, you have permission to feel whatever you feel. If you find someone caressing your hands deeply erotic and it turns you on, great. You have permission to feel that way, and you can communicate that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to become a sexual interaction. So we move from those, you know, very nurturing touches, touching the face in a very nurturing way, which many people haven't really experienced in their adult lives. Touching hands, touching feet, to more of a generalized body sensate focus. So front, back, with clothes and eventually without clothes. Being very slow and mindful about the process, and being communicating as much as you can about what the intent is and what the appropriate containers are. You know, we don't get sexual with clients if that is their goal. until way, way, way down the road. We have to spend a lot of time developing communication, developing sexual awareness, just comfortable in our own bodies first. And sometimes that happens and a client says, you know what, I've learned everything I need to learn. I'm going to explore this with a partner. I don't necessarily want to do erotic work with you. Great. Like, that's wonderful. If you've gotten to that point, job well done. We part ways with a high five, and like everything is gonna be okay. But slowly building up the type of touch, not necessarily a directional way, but in a way that is mindful of safety, is a very slow progression and moves from nurturing touch to sensual touch to erotic touch to sexual touch. Because each one of those types of touches are okay in their own right. You can have permission to be fully sensual with someone and not want it to become erotic or sexual. That can be it. End of sentence. I like this sensual touch. That's it. You could be fully erotic with someone and not want the touch to become completely sexual. And that's okay. End of sentence. You may be experiencing erotic touch with someone and decide, you know what, I really need to go back to nurturing touch, and that's really what I want now. So developing that kind of somatic vocabulary is really, really important. And we only can do that when we are slow and mindful about each step of the process.
Right.